So I am Lynne Collins. I work for Natural England. You've seen our logo a few times already, slightly older logo on a number of Judy's slides. So that's sort of good, and that gives you a bit of an idea of some of the things that we do and some of the publications. What I've realised is I don't actually have a slide saying who we are and what we do. So we are the government's wildlife agency, and I work in an area team, and that covers 5 counties. Some of you I know will have already linked in with us, and will link in with some of my colleagues quite a lot. I recognise some of the names on there, and others of you maybe have less to do with us. When we talk about I often hear other people talking about hard to reach groups, and my response is it's us that is the hard to reach group, and I am well aware of that. My role's been in place for about 1.5 years. So you are looking at net zero. I tend to think about inclusion and nature connection and nature recovery. This was some of the information that Natural England has put in for what we're going to be delivering for this year. And you'll see it's looking at, specifically linked to your patch, is restoration of peatlands. Obviously, you've got the fens and then some of the expansion of woodland cover. I'm going to go through reasonably quickly, if that's okay. We have what's called the Connecting People Nature programme in Natural England, and that's the work that I work to. And these are some of the main aims that we're looking at. And again, I'm not going to go over all of them, but more people connected with and acting for the environment. It was really interesting, Judy, just talking about policy. You need to have the right policy so you can deliver on the other work that you actually want to get doing. Well, quite a bit of what we do is policy work. And then we are part of DEFRA, or we're a DEFRA agency. And then more people benefiting from the natural environment and better quality, accessible, nature-rich places close to where people live. Oh, the other one, I was sort of looking, thinking, which ones do I specifically want to link in with your work? So more resilient environment as well, that protects people from environmental harms. And then when the green infrastructure standards were produced recently, so we have got a number of staff who are looking at green infrastructure standards, and they are working with local councils as their new plans are coming through to actually encourage those councils to look at the green infrastructure standards and how they're implementing them. I'm going to read this out if that's okay. So our chief executive is Marion Spain, and her quote at the time was, "Using green infrastructure to bring the sights, sounds and smells of nature into every city, town and street will not only create nature abundant, beautiful spaces for everyone to enjoy, but will help tackle climate change too. Natural England's committed to expanding access to nature, as the benefits of spending time outdoors are extensive. It reduces stress, increases physical activity and improves well-being. We look forward to working with developers, local planning authorities and communities to create a future where nature is on people's doorsteps to improve the quality of all our lives." Those of you who know our predecessors, you know, I sort of come from English Nature. Natural England was born of Countryside Agency and Rural Development Service, and we still have sort of different threads of all those 3 organisations. The sort of the access to nature side of it took a little bit of a backseat for a while, and has recently been much more resourced and supported. I just put this one in. I don't, yeah, this sounds a bit strange, but if I lived anywhere, so it's the whole thing around your own values, where do you want to be, where have you come from, I would live near Puffins, which, you know, can't help it. I don't know why I live in Peterborough, but there's loads of things about Peterborough that I've learned to love. So I can't see the whole of my slide, Alice, so I might need somebody else to sort of just check. So I know this is the PANS, People and Nature Survey. So Natural England has had a very long running survey that has two names. So originally it was called MENI, and the link of that is next, but the current survey is called PANS, which is People and Nature Survey. And I know I shouldn't be using acronyms, but it just makes it easier. And on this, what you're looking at, I need to stop touching my cursor. What you're looking at is April 2020 to March 21. Now, you know, that is COVID and lockdown. So we have evidence and we have information of how people were accessing their natural spaces and their green spaces. The greens are not the best differential of cover. So the top line is any visits, and then the bottom line of data is no visits. So there's, if you haven't looked at the People and Nature Survey or the MENI data, then there's quite a lot there, and it's always sort of worth having a look at some of that. This is the 10-year version of Monitor of Engagement with the Natural Environment. When they did that, it was a bit more like Mori polls. So they did have a number of people that they would actually visit. The PANS survey is more online, more data. So it's a different survey. So you can't compare the two of those, but we do have some information that we can look at long term. And again, you know, quite often this data isn't telling you anything you don't know, but it does help you if you're trying to evidence any funding packages or get any information. And again, linked to through COVID, it was quite odd, wasn't it? Because we suddenly sort of went, oh, hold on a minute. Everybody is going to their local sites. People are visiting places. We weren't quite prepared or up to be able to take advantage of that as quickly as we could, because the staff, we were all working at home. So the impact that had, in a sense, you're sort of partially left thinking there were quite a few conflicts that went on in some local areas at that time, but at the general sort of positives that we got were just really good. Right, there's a lot of text on here, but it's large. So the main thing I just want to mention, if you haven't seen it, is the Included Outside publication series. There is a link on here, and that is, so last year Natural England held a Connected Outdoors conference with YHA, and a lot of the groups came up to us and just kept saying, thank you for the information, that the publications that you're pulling together and the information you're pulling together, because they're using them, they've used them for funding, and they've actually received their funding by using some of that data. So that's part of what we can help and what we can do and what we continue to do. And that publication highlighted older people, people living in low-income areas, and people from ethnic minorities and those living with disabilities that were underrepresented in accessing natural space. You might have made that assumption already, but to have that actual evidenced is really helpful. So when you look at, does this say it on the top, Alice? Is this from, I think this is from MENI.
Yeah, it says highlights from MENI.
Oh, okay, thanks. So this is what came out of that. So that's slightly older, and I think some of the conversations that you've already had and you've already said is about if people are busy at work. I mean, I've got friends here in Peterborough who work in cafes, and they only have Sundays off. They work really long days. So, you know, trying to get get them in a place where they can make a difference or access things or be involved in things. They just don't have any time. And so when you see things happening, you have to just find a way of making it mean something to them. And also a lot of it is to do with access. So, you know, where is the nearest bus stop? What is that train sort of free, and how can somebody get somewhere easily with their buggy, and without it costing them anything else? And a classic of what we've heard already. So most of what you've already said is in my notes as well. Fun. You know, we've got to a position, I think, where we none of us want to just do the doom and gloom anymore. We want to have fun, and so if we can do it, have fun, and do something positive, then that's really helpful. I'm not going to leave this up long. This is just giving you an idea of the area that our area team covers. When I sort of pulled it all together and just went, oh my gosh, how many local planning authorities? This is something that with the latest census data that came out, then it just helps you look at who your audience is and where do you want to focus. We chose to focus, Luton was one of the places that we've chosen to focus, and Peterborough and a few other areas. We have sort of got Cambridgeshire as the wider Cambridgeshire areas as well, as something that we're looking at, but we can't work everywhere, so we're just trying to look at where we can. This was from, I don't know if any of you, is this all familiar to you all? This is something that you can get off the census. So it just gives you a feel for what you're sort of looking at. So if you think that the previous data talked about older people, then, you know, the way that I'm looking at it is I'm going into all the towns and just working out which towns we might want to focus more on than other aspects. What is inclusion? I mean, I think a lot
Lynne,
of the, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to flag, because it's 9 o'clock now. I just wanted to
Oh,
let everyone know. No, don't worry, we were running slightly behind. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're probably about 10-15 minutes behind. So if you're okay to stay for another 10-15 minutes, that's great. If you need to go, we are recording, so you can always catch up on the recording. But yeah, we should be done by 1:15. Sorry, Lynne. I don't want to.
no, have I started talking slow? Right, okay, let me zoom up. Okay, sorry. Right. So pathways to nature connection. I'm so down after Judy, that's what it is, isn't it? So senses, emotion, beauty, meaning, and compassion. So these are the different aspects that you can use with people. I want to get to the main bit. So you're okay if I just zoom straight on and then let everyone have a bit of a chat. This is looking at what this is actually a beetle survey. So this is sort of some of the aspects that people might get involved with. We already talked about listen. These are some of the things that I've heard that I'm very sort of conscious of. It's almost those things that just sit on your shoulder when you're working with different communities. Okay. And then one of the things that I was that we're very conscious of is, as an environment sector, we are not very diverse, and so we are consciously sort of looking at how we can make sure we're welcoming and inclusive within the organisation as well as with the people that we work with. This was a dragonfly that I saw on that particular walk with the beetles. There is a reason why I'm putting these in, but I'll need to get to the end so you know why. Right, so this is really, I think a lot of what you're already doing is this group is just looking at what is it you want to achieve, who you want to connect with, and what are the barriers for that. I've put a couple of slightly different slides in. just to sort of remind ourselves that a lot of people take information in differently. And so that's not only with them, but also with anybody that you're working with. I went to an event recently that was just one of the most sort of inclusive events that I've been to with audio description, and it just, so all of a sudden, the people in the room were very different to people that I'm normally in the room with. And so that just makes such a difference. This was taken from Ely Station, and while I was waiting for a train, and it just made me think and look at, you know, connections. I'd never really noticed how near I was to the main road. I hadn't really thought about the connection, that there was a canal. I'm assuming it's a canal. I don't know that area very well. And it's that whole sort of thing about quite often people have no idea what's next to them until they experience it, or somebody that they know shows them it. This is, these are just some things, and I think if this slide's going out, I was hoping that we'd talk about these, Alice, but we're not going to have time, so I'm just going to get to the end. Okay, so I've got a load of questions in there for you to think about and look at, and I'm more than happy to talk to people separately. I think I took this yesterday. So I showed you, I've just got this thing about dragonflies and damselflies, and a lot of people don't know the difference. And so we've talked about children and different people. This dragonfly was taken in the middle of Peterborough yesterday. So you didn't have to go to a national nature reserve, you didn't have to go out anywhere further. And one of the key things with your green infrastructure standards is about getting the wildlife into where people live, and then sort of making those areas much better. You've talked a lot about rural, a lot about villages. Quite a lot of people in rural areas feel that they have less access to nature than people in urban areas, and that and a lot of that is just the accessibility. Cambridgeshire is not quite as natural as maybe a lot of people think it is. So some of the work that I've done in the past around ponds with district level licensing, it was fascinating to just find out which areas we were struggling with, because there weren't enough sort of other locations that you could move or encourage the wildlife to sort of expand from. So that's quite a critical thing in that part of the world. Yeah, I wanted to see how sort of, so a lot of this is about sort of being challenging of yourself and challenging other people you know, and just use other people, use your networks. You know, the group of you on here, you know so many different people, you're already plugged in to a lot of really important networks. It's about letting other people do things for you and just working with them and helping them. So this is a damselfly. It was next to the dragonfly. So it was right in the middle of Peterborough, and there were loads. So it was just this sort of idea of what is local and what is near to you. And then these are just some other thoughts for you. I wanted to just finish on a quick story. And the quick story is yet another damselfly. I think I took this morning, so I have been changing this presentation quite a bit. And this damselfly is on in the 70s, where I live in an industrial estate on the edge of Peterborough. And in the 70s, with these little terraced houses, the local council handed out trees to people, and they gave them 3 trees, and one of them was buddleia. And I managed to kill one of the 3 trees, just, well, I didn't kill it, you know, it just died. But I just felt so bad that this tree didn't survive, but the buddleia did, and the other one did. I don't know what all the trees are. It's a bush and it doesn't look that brilliant, but the buddleia is great. And obviously there was this damselfly in the middle of this industrial estate. And it's that sort of aspect of how are we bringing nature into people and then connecting the people through their lives from that. So I think, but the question I just wanted to leave with you is, you know, in 50 years time, what is somebody kind of remember of what you do about this? You know, because just somebody at some point went, oh, we've got to give trees to people. So what is it that you're doing? What change are you going to make?